So let me give you two stories about spiritual legacy of Victory Baptist Church and how missions plays a huge impact, but not just missions abroad, right here locally. I was just at First Baptist Church, Lavon, Texas, literally only 20 minutes from here, and meeting with the Senior Adult Ladies Quilting Club. They had made 72 dresses for little girls up to teenagers. And through a series of events, they met me. They said, would you like the dresses? We had made them for a missionary going to Uganda. They cannot go to Uganda. Would you like them? I go, would I like them? I'll be right over. So I go over there at First Baptist Church, Lavon. I'd never been there before. And the young 33-year-old pastor wanted to meet me. So he came over to the Sunday school room where we met. And he's just a sharp young man. That church is blowing and going. And I said, my home church is Victory Baptist Church, Rowlett, Texas. He said, I have fond memories of that church. I go, really? He said, I was 5 years old and it was the very first church I ever went to in my life. He said, my mom was going through a divorce. We were living on Chisa Road and she was looking for God and came here. And now he's 33, pastoring First Baptist Church, Lavon. And every time he drives by our church, he thinks about that day as a 5-year-old boy. And he walked in the door. Isn't that cool? I'll give you another spiritual fruit. So Brother Rodney Fitzsimmons is here tonight because you know what Jesus said in the Bible, I seek that you may have fruit and fruit that abounds. Let me tell you the backstory of why he's actually here and why he went to the Dominican Republic. And in the last 7 months, he has been over to Santiago and ministered in our ministry 3 times. In the last 7 months, 3 times. He's over there as much as I am. He has a key to my apartment. I mean, he's doing a fantastic job. And it's unfortunate of what's going on in Haiti, and that's what's restricted his travel to Haiti. But all in the same time, he was able to come and minister to not just our Haitians, but our Dominicans. Here's the backstory. So I was a missionary kid. My father was called to the country of Japan. And so I remember the day as 8 years old, my dad walked in the door and said, kids, pack your stuff. We're going on deputation. We're like, what is that? Is it a disease? I don't want it, you know. And so deputation is just a fancy word for going to gather partners to send you to the mission field. And so God sent us to the mission field. And he started one Japanese church, then we transitioned into military work. And during that time, we saw revival break out. This was in 1979 through 1983. And Dad led this one airman to the Lord. His name was Jeff Goldstein. And he was actually a Jew that got converted and got saved really good. I mean, really good. And that was 33 years ago. Now, Brother Jeff, who 75, he died this year and went home to be with the Lord from a heart attack. But before he passed away, he found out I was going to be a missionary. He talked to his church in Palm Bay, Florida, southeast of Orlando, and says, he calls me Lonnie. He said, Lonnie, you got to come to my church. So I go to his church in 2013, and then I meet the pastor, and then I'm invited to the missions conference of 2014. Stayed in touch, and while I was there, I was introduced to Brother John Conrad of the Carpenters Project. But little did I know that one day, the president of the Carpenters Project was going to become my good friend and come to the Dominican. Now check this out. Last year, Brother John Conrad, who works with Brother Rodney, sends me an email and says, hey, I've got a really good friend. He served for almost 33 years in Gonaive, Haiti. He understands you've got a Haitian ministry now. He wants to come over. Now check this out. And that was last year. And then this March, Brother Rodney came over, stayed with me for 2 weeks. I had him teach and preach 16 times all over the island. I mean, he got on the plane and his tongue was hanging out. It was fantastic. It was great. And I carried his bags for 2 weeks. I was his driver, his bodyguard, his scheduler, his coordinator. And all of that was possible because of the fact that many years ago, my dad took us to the mission field. You get that? He led Jeff Goldstein to the Lord, who is now in heaven. And all these years later, we make the connection, and now he is sowing into the ministry we're doing. And by the way, he is like a celebrity with the Haitians in our ministry over there. And by the way, you don't know this story, Brother Rodney, but he and I went to lunch right after one of the services, and we went to Wendy's to eat, and there was Oscar Pedrosa y Melissa sitting there, Mexicans from Mexico with ministry to Haitians in the Dominican. Now, only God could do that. And I said, Oscar, you've never been to the U.S.? Oh, no. United States doesn't send you money? Oh, no, I'm supported by Mexican churches. I go, what a concept. So we sit there, and Oscar had just started his church, and I said, oh, this is Brother Rodney. He's a veteran missionary from Haiti, and he's preaching in all these churches. And Oscar gets big eyes, and he goes, please let him come to my church. Well, so we were sitting there, and I said, Oscar, listen, I've got him on a tight schedule. We're all over. And I said, we're driving back from Montecristi. It's a 2.5-hour drive. We will come back early. He flies out Tuesday morning. I'll give you Monday night if you can get people there. He said, I'll have people there. You bring him. I took him, and we get there, and there were 40 adults. Some that had traveled as far as 45 minutes on public transportation to be there. And I'm sitting there in the back, and he's preaching in Creole, so I'm just grasping what I can, okay? I loved this morning. I was like, I can actually understand him now. He always preaches in Creole. I don't know. He's a Baptist that likes to preach in tongues. But anyway, so I'll never forget that night. The church is meeting in a carport, okay? And the move of God was really strong that night. And I'll never forget, because Rodney, he's hardcore with his invitations. He's like, you serious about wanting to get saved? Come forward. And wow, that night was powerful. And out of those 47 came forward. He goes, now stand right here. Stand right here if you want to get saved. And he goes, okay, I'm going to close the invitation. Does anybody else need to come? Does anybody? And the lady sitting on the front row pops up, 8 people. He prays right there. I'm in the back just weeping. I was like, oh God, give us more of this. I mean, I've been over there sowing the seed and evangelizing with the Dominican people and, just starting with the Haitian ministry, and I saw God move. And the day before, he did the same thing in a town 2.5 hours north in America's church. And 4 grown men walked out in the middle of his sermon. How many preachers do you know give a mid-sermon invitation? I'd never seen it before, and I've been in church since I was, 5, whatever, 3. I don't remember. And then he asked him, he goes, do you understand what you did? Because a lot of Haitians, they get saved and they don't understand. And he asked them all individually. And all of that was possible because of the fact that years ago I went to the mission field. Somebody gave money to send me as a little boy. You see that? You see that fruit? And now all these years later, we're seeing fruit that remains. And Brother Rodney has gone back to the Dominican. He keeps ministering. And here's the latest fruit from his last trip to the Dominican. Another Baptist missionary only lives 30 minutes from me, but the city's crowded. It's like in Dallas. You don't know, you know so-and-so? Well, it's a big city. I'd never seen this guy before. I meet him, we become friends. And in 2017, when I started the seminary into 2018, I begged him. I said, Brother Tom, please join our seminary. Help us. Be a professor. Offer classes, whatever you got to do. No, I don't want to do it. He goes over to Santiago this past 2 months ago, and he's teaching again in Oscar, the Mexican missionary. He's teaching at his church, and Tom is there. And then the other Haitian pastor finds out he's coming, and they're all fighting. You don't know about all this, brother. They're all fighting about who gets to have him. And I'm like, y'all calm down. I'm in control here. And anyway, so he goes over and preaches, and then all of a sudden I get a call from Tom, and he's like, okay, I'm ready to do seminary. And Tom Franklin, an American missionary who has a Haitian work, just started 3 Thursday nights ago, and they've come under our umbrella and accreditation. And so now we have 5 locations doing seminary and institute training. Amen? And the total enrollment is 117 students. It's blowing my mind. So there's many more stories and photos that I could share with you, but I want you to just see how the fruit that remains just keeps going and keeps going. And Rodney was so instrumental in helping Tom see the need to train. And then Rodney confirmed with me last night that Tom said, yes, I've got 7 people that need to be trained. And it finally dawned on him. And so I gave Tom all of our curriculum, and he's teaching in Spanish, and his pastor is actually translating into Creole for the students. So he will be able to offer class for Spanish speakers and Haitian Creole speakers. So it's really, really cool. So while I've been here in the States, and I have to return on the 12th of October, I have been raising funds for our new Haitian pastor, which, by the way, I was in the process of interviewing back when Pastor Rodney came over in March, and I was able to have him interview Menor, and we went to Menor's pastor and interviewed him as well. I was like, what'd he say? What'd he say? It was fantastic. It was fantastic. And so anyway, fast forward, we had such an impact by getting a home for our Dominican pastor. I began to ask God, now God, this guy's committed. And his name is Menor, and his wife is Julie. And I said, I want a house for them. And lo and behold, 2 doors up from Pastor Kelva's, 3 doors up from the church became available. So let's watch this video, and then I'll give you the update, okay? Welcome to Santiago, Dominican Republic. Thank you so much for watching this video about our ministry here in this community. My name is Earl Hammons, and my wife Tammy and I are missionaries to this country. We are so blessed that God has given us multiple ministries throughout the years that we've been serving here in this country. One of them is our Haitian Creole Church. Due to the rapid growth of this ministry and the Haitians coming to this side of the island, our ministry is growing, and we needed to add additional support staff and pastors to this church. We began praying and asking God to send us a pastor to help us with the needs. After further prayer and investigation, we found Menor and Julie and their 3 precious children. They have already joined our team, have jumped in with both feet, are learning on the job, and have already made a tremendous impact here in the ministry. We know to make a generational impact for the gospel in this community, we need to purchase a home for this future pastor. And after much prayer and investigation and looking, God has opened the door for us to purchase this property right behind me. We'll also have greater access for making disciples and doing counseling with our existing church members. And then finally, they will also be able to have a generational impact on not just the people we're reaching now, but the children in our ministry that will one day grow up and they too can be followers of Jesus Christ and attend this church. So, what's it going to cost? Well, to buy this land and to finish out the structure that you see here behind me is going to cost $50,000. To do the build out, to finish the roof, and to pay all of the closing costs on this property. Would you pray about joining us in this effort for a very worthy family? I personally believe the greatest investment we can ever make is in people, especially those that are living and serving on the front line as God's chosen servants for the gospel of Jesus Christ. Thank you so much. And if you would like more information about how you can be a part of purchasing a home for the pastor, please click on the link below and you can find out more information. God bless you and thank you. Okay, so now I put a slideshow for you to be able to see where we are, and so Tim will pull that up. And so the good news is we have raised, as of this morning, $22,850. Amen? I spoke to Kelvis this afternoon. Don't go any further yet. And he's like, I'm out of money. So what does that mean? We bought the property. And so if you can see these slides, go ahead. I'll tell you when to stop. Okay, that's before we bought it. And bam! So first thing Kelvis did, the great thing about my Dominican pastor is he's overseen our entire construction for our church, for his home. And I'm telling you, the guy knows what he's doing, okay? So he hired a truck, started clearing away the vegetation. And I told him, I said, hire the Haitians from our church first. So we're trying to do that. So we've cleared the lot. That'll be the carport there on the left, and the house entrance will be to the right. The previous owner did erect the walls. However, he did not do a good job. You'll see in a minute. We had to reinforce the foundation. Now, they do things a little different over there. They do walls first and flooring last. Okay, so it's just a Caribbean thing. It's the way they build them. Okay, keep going. So there is some of the walls that we are able to save. Okay, and this project would have only cost $35,000 before the pandemic. That's how much prices. Kelvis and I were talking this morning. I was like, has PVC gone up over there like it has here? And I'm like, oh yeah, everything is expensive. He was telling me a 3-inch PVC pipe was 3 times as much now. Keep going. That's the septic system. He's built that out. Go ahead and fly through these. Okay, so we're working on the foundation underneath. And Kelvis understands the importance of rebar, so we do that, because every now and then you have those earthquakes that are not friendly to buildings. And so that's what's going on right now. He told me this afternoon, this is very dangerous. That wall could fall down. So they've dug the dirt out, and they're reinforcing that with rebar and concrete. This is all the unpretty stuff that you don't see that goes on behind building a home, especially a renovation like this that has walls. There's the septic system, and we'll be able to tie into the city water there. So anyway, that's just about, there's one of the rooms. It will have 3 bedrooms, so the 2 boys are going to share. Julacey, the daughter, she'll get her own bedroom, and then there'll be a master bedroom. It'll be a 1-bath, 3-bedroom home, and So anyway, that's enough. Thank you, Tim. So pray for me. I told Kelvis, if we get a ministry deposit on Tuesday, I'll be sending you more money. And so tonight he's working on the budget. Now, why do we want to build a house for a pastor? In the short time that I've been there and the years that I spent as a missionary kid, the pastors in churches that had facilities had the longest impact in the communities that I have seen. So I'm like, this house is in the name of the ministry. It's not in the name of Menor. If he passed away for whatever reason, we would take care of his wife and kids, but we would be able to move another family in there. And we're taking a long-term approach. So pray with us about that. If you have any other questions, you can ask me. But let's have a great missions conference. And thank you for coming tonight.